So, Kareem, we've heard a lot about this compared to the Iran nuclear deal. Give us a sense of the kind of broad ways in which this is similar and it's different. I mean, I've heard people say that what Trump is now going to agree to is actually going to be worse than the Iran nuclear deal. What's your sense?
The key difference, Fareed, is that President Trump is trying to get Iran to suspend its enrichment of uranium for several years. Initially, they wanted that Iran to agree to cease enrichment forever. I think that number has probably dropped down to 10 years. And so I think in President Trump's victory speech, he's going to say that Obama only got Iran to enrich at low levels, whereas the Trump administration, got to, let's say, a 10-year suspension of enrichment. But the question is, at what cost? This war has cost American taxpayers perhaps north of $100 billion. And again, as Ian alluded to, it doesn't resolve the problem. It pauses the war, pauses the problem. But I certainly have no confidence that Iran is going to abide by anything it signs here.
Okay, expand on that, because you don't have that elaborate system of inspections and cameras that the Obama deal had.
You don't have the same inspections regime. The mistrust is 10 times what it was before. And in the 2015 JCPOA, two of the important signatories to that deal were Iranian partners, China and Russia. This time it's essentially a deal between the Islamic Republic of Iran and President Trump. And they've said that on a couple of occasions, President Trump has abrogated his terms of the deal. So what I'm quite concerned about are these underground missile cities, that no matter what Iran agrees to sign, it will try to reconstitute its nuclear program in these underground missile cities, which in some cases are even more hardened than their nuclear facilities were.
So, Kareem, fair to say, I remember your views on the Obama nuclear deal. Correct me if I'm wrong. You reluctantly supported it. You felt there were many problems, but it did at least put the nuclear program in a box. If you're saying this is worse in many senses, do you think is this not worth signing from the point of view of the United States?
This is unfortunately the dilemma that President Trump has put himself in with this war. In my view, and I did support the Obama nuclear deal. I thought it was 60-40 positive. The challenges that weren't addressed, of course, were Iran's regional proxies, its missile program. So I don't think America's entire strategy should just be a non-proliferation strategy. But this time around, I think it's going to be worse, and that we've essentially convinced Iran that they need nuclear weapons as a cloak of immunity. And again, I don't think that we are going to be confident that they're going to abide by the terms of anything they sign.
Ian, tell us about the geopolitics of the region. Where does this leave America's Gulf allies who have relied on the United States to provide order, to provide stability, and to kind of intelligently contain Iranian ambitions?
It really unnerves them because they understand that on the back of a unilateral American decision, that a relatively small country can put them at risk and can hold a $100+ trillion global economy to ransom. And there are big implications of that. One is that OPEC is functionally dead. That's why the Emiratis have left. They don't want to be held with stranded assets. And so they're now going to, once this deal is done, start producing and exporting as much energy as they can, getting the price down, but also moving on with being a global node. And their core ally is Israel. They're part of an Abrahamic coalition that really is going to be much closer to the United States. They were fighting against Iran with the Israelis, sharing intelligence, and they're going to have a big problem with Iran going forward. The Saudis, on the other hand, have much more of a Muslim alliance, and they are regional anchors supported by Pakistan with a nuclear program that they have funded in part, also with 13,000 troops on the ground, closer with the Turks, closer with the Egyptians, and eventually hedging more with the Chinese. Why? Because they're exporting a lot of oil at low cost that the Chinese need, but competing with the United States. So there's a fracture that's coming much bigger in the Gulf. Final point is that this is also going to affect countries around the world that see that these straits not just here, but also the Red Sea, also Malacca, are very vulnerable. It's moving them to renewable energy in a much, much faster way. The same decision the Emiratis are making in the region, they're going to make globally. We could look at back in this in 10 years and see that orange is the new green. Trump will have done more for renewable energy unintentionally than any other president in U.S. history.
Karim, we have about a minute, but I want you to talk about something that really was front and center and that has disappeared. The Iranian people. They seem to be facing a tougher regime, more of a military dictatorship than the kind of mixed regime that existed, and no one's talking about their welfare anymore.
That's such an important question, Fareed. What got us into this war were the nationwide uprisings in Iran in January, and President Trump said to the Iranian people, help is on the way. And instead, this war has been the worst of both worlds, I would argue, in that it has essentially resuscitated what I would have called a zombie regime that had a dying ideology, dying leader, dying legitimacy. It's breathed new life into that zombie regime, and it's totally neglected the Iranian people. Ultimately, Fareed, in my view, the Islamic Republic of Iran is like a mini Soviet Union, and you're never really going to see a change or regional stability until you have a government in Iran whose organizing principle is the national interest of Iran rather than the revolutionary ideology of 1979. And this war, unfortunately, didn't advance us closer to that outcome.
Ian Bremmer,
biggest foreign mistake of the Trump administration by a very long margin.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Karim.